Good evening, everyone. So today's topic is automotive aerodynamics. So why I have given a domain where aerospace engineers can excel is like most people think about placements. So that's where I thought, okay, what are the alternative domains where we can excel? That's where I chose this particular topic. So uh, before moving into this session, I have a humble request to every one of you. Since we are using Google Meet, please keep your microphones in mute, and please select this presenting screen as such and pin it. So if there is any disturbance from other participants by accidentally touching the present screen, you might miss this presentation. So you will be seeing only blank screen, and you might hear only audio. So to avoid that, you please pin the screen. So if you have any questions or doubts, we have our team who will be answering you. I will introduce them shortly. So you can go ahead and comment in your chat box such that it will be addressed sequentially. So before moving into the topic, I have to acknowledge here several people, primarily people who are working in automotive industry, especially in aerothermal domain, who are my past ME friends and present collaborators, and they have given a lot of information on how to perform automotive aerodynamics. And special thanks to our students who performed automotive aerodynamics, that is automobile aerodynamics studies on auto rickshaw, especially Neha Singh, Sharan Sabhe and Pratyush Singh, and on motorbike aerodynamics by Poojan, Yash and Arvind. And thanks to our institute for providing experimental facilities and space for creating setups. So what are the takeaway things from this webinar? So I'm going to introduce you to automotive aerodynamics. That's the first primary part. And then methods to study this automotive aerodynamics, especially automobile aerodynamics, and some example cases which we have performed from our group, that is auto rickshaw aerodynamics, then aerodynamics of a racing bike, and some simulation on articulated lorries. Then finally we have a interesting topic where how aerospace engineers can excel in this particular domain, and what are the routes, what are the trainings required, what are the skills you have to acquire, something like that. So with this takeaway things, let us move into what is aerodynamics first. So we know that aerodynamics is a derivative subject which is derived from fluid mechanics or fluid dynamics. So fluid dynamics deals generally with fluids, and air is one of the fluid. So when we deal only about flow of air, and the subject becomes aerodynamics. So this subject can handle flow over bodies, or when the bodies move in a stagnant fluid, what are the dynamics created around the bodies? That is the motion of fluid in relation to some objects. So wherein we emphasize on forces and moments created due to those phenomena. So that's where aerodynamics is a composite subject wherein you have multiple interactions, and you have always sufficient backup with physics and mathematics, and almost all the topics in aerodynamics has its own applications. So especially aerospace people, they give more importance in aerodynamics, because first, if we want to fly or to get airborne, we need to create a lift force. So that's the primary requirement with which aerodynamics gained importance, and that's the primary subject in aerospace or aeronautical engineering. The secondary part comes with the structure, which gives to the strength and gives shape to the bodies which produce the lift. So aerospace structure is the secondary part, and then if the structure and this aerodynamic shape has to produce a lift, there should be some motion. That's where we need some propulsive forces. That's where aircraft propulsion or aerospace propulsion comes into picture. So our primary subject is aerodynamics. Since this subject is the backbone of entire dynamics of the aviation industry or aerospace industry, I think we have to give more importance to this particular subject. So by knowing what is aerodynamics, we should know what are the classifications in aerodynamics. So there are some classifications in aerodynamics. That's where I can introduce you people about atmospheric aerodynamics. This is where what is happening in the atmosphere. You might be seeing in news that there is a cyclone, there is a typhoon, something like that. So these are all atmospheric aerodynamics. In general, people say that as a geophysical fluid dynamics. So it's all because of the sun's rays, heating, Earth's rotation, and there are multiple reasons which contribute to atmospheric aerodynamics. Then the next part is automotive aerodynamics. In general, we people as aerospace engineers, automotive means we think about automobiles, but automotive is a generic term which encompasses this aviation, automobile, and this naval, then off-road, all the transportation systems come into this particular domain. So primarily aerodynamics is meant for aviation or aerospace domain, but it has extended its applications in automobile and other sectors. So that's where we are going to focus on automobile sector or automotive sector in general. So apart from transportation, we have building aerodynamics or architectural aerodynamics, where this subject can have an impact on people living in that building regarding airflow, pollutant dispersion, and then the structural integrity of the building with respect to wind loads and so on. And interesting part is about the sports aerodynamics, where if a cricket ball swings in the airflow, or you have a football which has its own dynamics, or you have a peculiar sports item like a golf ball which travels for long distances because of the dimples over the surface of the golf ball, which creates a turbulent boundary layer. That's where drag is reduced. And there are a lot of other sports like swimming, which all has aerodynamic or hydrodynamic effects. Then if you want to see sports aerodynamics in terms of automotive aerodynamics, you can see about race cars, race bike, bicycling aerodynamics, and related phenomena. So people who want to race, they also think about aerodynamics. So these are the basic classifications of aerodynamics. Apart from aviation, all the other classifications can be put together and can be termed as industrial aerodynamics. I think few universities offer this course as an elective. I think apart from aviation aerodynamics, this industrial aerodynamics is interesting because this industrial aerodynamics deals with the day-to-day life and some interesting applications of aerodynamics. Coming to exactly automobile aerodynamics, what does it deal with? If you ask me that question, I can say that flow around any automobile, if we study that and what are its effects and what are its consequences, that comprises for this automobile aerodynamics. So especially in automobile aerodynamics, we deal with forces and moments. If you consider forces, we deal with drag force, which is the major component in automobile aerodynamics based on ground. And if it is an aircraft, we speak about lift. If it is a ground-based vehicle, we speak about downforce, especially in race car aerodynamics. And then we have moments. In general aerodynamics, we have all the three moments. But in ground-based vehicles, some of the moments are restricted because of the restriction in 1 degree of freedom, especially on the ground. So that's where we will deal with only few moments. And why to study aerodynamics, that too especially automobile aerodynamics? So that's the question most people might have. Okay, if you want to study aerodynamics for aerospace engineering or aviation purpose, we need to create lift and we need to fly. That's why we have aerodynamics. But in terms of automobile aerodynamics, the first fundamental part is the power requirement. So if an automobile has to move, it has to have some power, that is the engine power, which can allow the vehicle to move forward. So if the vehicle has to move forward, it has to overcome several resistances. So what are the resistances that are giving say negative forces to the vehicle are this rolling resistance. This is the friction from the ground. If we have a road and the vehicle is parked over the road, and there is a friction between the wheel and the ground, that is the road, and you have to overcome that friction. This is called rolling resistance. So you have to have some power to overcome the rolling resistance. So if you have an engine that can overcome the rolling resistance, I think you are happy to move and you can keep moving. And if you have a brake, you can stop your vehicle wherever you want. Now, why to think about aerodynamic requirements? Suppose as you have excess power of your vehicle, which means higher power than what is required. If you have higher power, you try to accelerate your vehicle. So your speed increases. When your speed increases, your vehicle tries to move faster and faster. So once your vehicle moves faster and faster, your aerodynamic drag increases. So the aerodynamic drag, if you see a formula, drag is given by CDQS. So this Q has half rho V square, that is the dynamic pressure. So this V contributes to the power requirement, especially due to aerodynamics. So increase in velocity will increase in power requirement, especially if you go beyond 80 km per hour. This speed regime is always say trouble to people who design vehicles, because it has more aerodynamic drag than the rolling resistance. So aerodynamic drag becomes significant at higher speeds. So based on this, there is a requirement that we have to study about aerodynamics and its implications on automobiles. The second part is about sports aerodynamics. Most people are concerned about racing needs. So if you want to reduce your lap timing, especially for a race car, or if you see a race bike or bicycle races, something like that, what you can do is you can have excess power to say move at faster speeds. But there are some categories in which they will restrict the power of the engine to a certain level. So if almost all the teams are given with the same engine with the same tuning, which has almost the same power output, then the aerodynamic drag is the only part which is going to play a major role in the lap timing. So how to reduce the lap timing? If you reduce your aerodynamic resistance or aerodynamic drag, you will reduce your lap timing and you will come fast. So that's where you have this racing need, wherein aerodynamics plays a major role. The other part, if you see the cornering and traction, so if you want to have efficient power developed based on ground, what you have to do is you have to have these wheels sticking to the ground. If there are any lift forces that is happening on the race vehicle, I think these wheels will not touch the ground, and you will do not produce enough power or enough traction such that your vehicle is losing its speed. So to produce negative lift, you have to have wing surfaces that will help you in stay attached to the ground. Other thing is about cornering. When you are cornering, I think some wheels might lift off the ground, and if you want to have effective cornering, I think these wheels should be brought back down, and this is also an aerodynamic aspect. So apart from this basic power requirements and racing needs, most people from our country, they are always concerned about savings in fuel. So if you are a long distance traveler, you might be traveling from one place to another place, maybe 400 or 500 kilometers, and your normal average speed might be 70 kmph or 80 kmph. Some people try to go around 100 or 120 based upon the highway speed limitations. Traveling at that particular speed, if you lower your windows, you might have all aerodynamic effects. The flow might be coming in, moving out. It might do some crazy stuff. Because of that, drag will have alterations. So this will have one impact. Suppose if you close all the windows and if you switch on your air conditioners, and if you are moving, there will be a smooth surface finish of the vehicle, and your aerodynamics will be perfect for that particular condition. You might save some fuel on that. Also, if your vehicle is aerodynamically designed, your pressure drag will come down, and you are saving your engine power, and that's where you'll be saving on fuel. The other aspect is, if your vehicle is producing more drag, you might be required to produce more power. Therein, you might be consuming more fuel, and if you are burning more fuel, it might be contributing to more pollution. So, if you are making your vehicle aerodynamic as possible, there is a part that you might be saving on pollution aspects too, such that you have somewhat better or greener environment. So these are the requirements with which we need to study aerodynamics, especially for automobiles. So with the development of vehicle, if you see from the typical Hindustan Motors Ambassador vehicle till today's vehicle like a Maruti Ciaz, you might be finding how the vehicles have turned its shape and how aerodynamic it has become. So with this, I am moving towards what are the objects that we can study in automobile aerodynamics. So most basic vehicle which we use for day-to-day life is bicycles or bikes which are powered with engines or electric motors. So these are two-wheelers. Basically, we can study about their aerodynamics, which can have impact on fuel efficiency and engine power. Then cars. In the four-wheeler segment, we have hatchbacks, sedans, crossovers, SUVs, sports utility vehicles, and there are convertibles which are having an open rooftop and so on. So hatchbacks generally they are bluff on the rear side, and this might contribute to higher drag, which are typically vehicles for city purposes. And sedans, you might find the vehicles are lengthy enough, and there is a good sloping or streamlining of that vehicle can be seen. That's where these are drag efficient vehicles. And SUVs are almost bluff type of vehicles which has sharp corners or bluff surfaces towards the airflow. And convertibles, these are different class of vehicles wherein there is no rooftop, wherein your windshield will be obstructing the flow, and there will be a vortex behind the windshield that might interact with your hair, and your hair might come in front of you, and it might block the visibility. So there are a lot of problems in aerodynamics of convertible vehicles too. And apart from this most personalized vehicles, we have general transportation vehicles like buses. The buses, I think you have to pin your presentation screen. I think that's the problem you have. Please do that. So buses, if you see, there are intracity buses and intercity buses. So the intracity buses are mostly it's open window type buses, so there might be flow which is coming in and moving out. So there are a lot of happenings which is happening inside the vehicle itself and also on the exterior side. And we do not consider these buses or vehicles which are in local transportation because they are not reaching higher speeds. But if we think about intercity buses or interstate buses, these are long distance buses. Most of them are air conditioned, and it has its own aerodynamics, and this is going to contribute for the drag. So even if you reduce a 0.001 percentage or say 0.001 CD, you might be saving on fuel. So that's where now this intercity buses or interstate buses are designed for aerodynamics. Then the other major part is about the transportation vehicles. This transportation vehicles, if you see, mostly these lorries or trucks. The lorries or trucks usually comes in two types. One will be like integrated vehicle, wherein you have the chassis with which the front tractor portion will be there. As such, you will be having the rear load bearing part. And there are other vehicles wherein you have a tractor separately and a trailer separately. So you have an attachment wherein this tractor will be pulling the trailers. So why we have to study this aerodynamics of these lorries again? This transportation cost, if you see, is basically based on the fuel consumed by these lorries. So if you want to bring down your transportation cost, you have to make these vehicles efficient. So these lorries usually travel at a constant speed for longer distances, and if you save some drag based fuel, you might be saving on transportation cost. So what is the difference between the types of lorries which I told? In terms of aerodynamics, if you see, if the vehicle is like a tractor trailer combination, there might be a drag which is created by the tractor separately and the trailer separately. There might be interaction between these two bodies, and there might be a gap, and this is going to contribute for the drag, and so on. So you have to design your vehicle properly, or if you search internet, you might be finding some of the devices which can be attached to these vehicles, like vortex generators, which will effectively play with the boundary layer, and it will come up with a lesser drag. Then there is another important aspect wherein we use trains as transportation for people and cargo. So these trains are longer vehicles, and it has its own aerodynamic effects. The local train will have open windows, and you have all internal and external aerodynamics. And high speed trains, you might see like bullet trains, which is completely air conditioned, and the initial part, that is the engine part or the tractor part of the train, will be most aerodynamic. Similarly, you might find that on the trailing side. These vehicles which travel at a high speed really needs to be taken care of based on aerodynamic needs. So these are the objects of study if you consider automobile aerodynamics or automotive aerodynamics. How to study automotive aerodynamics or automobile aerodynamics? There are several ways. I have emphasized experiments and simulations. In experiments, you can do measurements, and you can do visualizations, and you can infer results from that. If you see simulations, it's based on computational fluid dynamics. There are different resolution types, and if you know what is CFD and its resolution types, you might appreciate what is Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equation, larger D simulations, then detached D simulations, and delayed detached D simulations. It's like you have to resolve what are the vortices that you can see around the vehicle. And if you want to model that plainly using equation alone, you can go for RANS modeling. Or if you want all the structures, the flow behavior to be predicted, that is the major part to be predicted and the minimal part to be modeled by equations, you can go for the bottom one, like LES, DES, or DDES. Also, you have to note that most people who do RANS, they go for steady state simulation, like wherein they will be getting directly the lift value or drag value or moment value. But on the contrary, if you see LES or this DES based simulations, it is basically a transient simulation. You get time dependent results, and then you get all the phenomenons for a moving system or a flow moving over the vehicle. All transients you will get, and then you have to find out what is the average drag or average lift or average moment. So in experiments, primarily we know that we use wind tunnels. Thanks to Kaushik for this particular wind tunnel schematic. If you know what is a wind tunnel is, it's a simple device which has several paths, and it allows people to house a model which is to be tested for aerodynamic characteristics or aerodynamic performance. So this is a typical suction type wind tunnel, wherein you can find on the right side air is going into that intake section. It is conditioned, and then it is fed to the test section in between. So in this test section, you might be placing your model, and then your airflow is moving towards the outer side. This is a motor which is driving a fan, and the air is being moved towards the left hand side. So with this wind tunnels, we will be able to use accessories like load balancers to measure forces and moments, and we might be using smoke based visualization or tuft based visualization to see exactly how fluid is behaving around this model. And You can also create ports over the model, and you can connect it to manometers, maybe water column manometers or digital pressure based manometers, and then you will be able to find the coefficient of pressure over the vehicle. So typically wind tunnel will give you a good number of experimental results or measurements with which you can infer how aerodynamic the vehicle is. And there are other tunnels like smoke tunnel, wherein you can place the vehicle and you can inject the smoke and you can do visualizations. It is only dedicated for visualization purpose. And people like automotive industries, where people like aerodynamicists, exactly, they bring a tube of smoke and they want to inject in a point where they want to see from that point how the flow is moving around the vehicle and where it can lead to separation or reattachment and so on. So with this experimental setup, I think I have to give information on some of the project which we have done in our laboratory, our group. This year they did aerodynamics of this auto rickshaw. So we have chosen typical auto rickshaw which is plying on roads in cities and urban areas or rural areas. If you see this vehicle, this is a three-wheel vehicle which I have not mentioned in the previous slide, and I think people have not given much importance to this vehicle because it's a low-cost vehicle. Also you have multiple openings, and it's very simpler in construction. So we have chosen this vehicle based on literature review, since very scarce literature are available or no literature are available for this. And first thing what we did is we went for drag measurements. So if you want to measure drag, we have to have load balance. So we tried about building our own load balance with the load cell, but due to the cost of the load cell, later on stages we stopped that work, and then we came up with a simple force balanced based method, wherein there is a arm fixed to the center of a particular plate, and then we have this weighing scale, which is a digital one, and this is fixed to this horizontal wooden ply which is seen in the middle picture, and this is connected to this particular arm, and the vehicle is connected to this particular arm. When this vehicle is pulled pulled to this side, this is going to apply this force on this particular rod, and this rod is going to move this way, and this is going to pull this, since it is connected to this particular hook, this might pull this particular hook, and it will give you the force value. So this setup was kept inside the whole this drag measurement mechanical setup was kept outside a jet tunnel, wherein this outlet will produce flow. Behind that you have a similar equipment like wind tunnel, except the test section. So we made our own test section by having a wooden plank and having two bricks on the sides, which are cement bricks, and a vehicle of study is kept inside, and it is connected to this bottom rod, and the top one is connected to this spring balance. And once we allow the flow to pass over the vehicle will experience the resistive forces or drag forces, and this drag forces is in turn shown in this particular digital display. So it will show in grams. From that grams, I think we can do manipulations and we can come up with our drag value. Also we have to note that whatever equipments we use, we have to calibrate those equipments. That's where our team went ahead with calibrating those equipments. If you see this bottom side, this is a standard weight of 20 grams which was allowed to hang on that particular weighing scale, and it was calibrated. So different say known weights were used for calibrating this particular spring balance setup. So once calibrated, we performed experiments and we came up with the average values, and those results are reported in the upcoming slide. So if you see this slide, it tells you about the drag measurement results. So we know the drag formula CD, wherein we can have the drag force from the display, and the drag force is typically 50 gram, which is converted to Newton, and this value has been taken in, and this is 0.49, and you have this half rho v square multiplied by area. So rho is considered to be 1.225 for standard atmosphere conditions, and then velocity which we operated for that particular facility was around 19 meter per second, so we have chosen that value, and the cross sectional area or the frontal area is found to be 0.004 meter square, and this was used, and finally we achieved a drag of 0.55. This is drag coefficient, and this drag coefficient we repeated the experiments for several times, and we found that it is almost around 0.55, and the average says that this is the value. So why we have done drag measurement first is like if we want to perform simulations, we want to compare simulation results with the experimental results. That's where we performed experiments first. So we got the drag value. The next step what we did is we want to see how the flow field is. That's where we used a visualization facility, that is a smoke tunnel which is available in our laboratory. It is a typical wind tunnel. If you see only one particular thing will be peculiar, this contraction section will be having high contraction ratio, which means it is going to reduce the turbulence to the least possible level. That's where you find pure laminar flow and uniform flow in the test section. Also you might find that there is a cuboidal box sitting over the wind tunnel. That's the laser, which is made into a sheet using optics, and that sheet is seen inside this particular test section. From this front portion of this tunnel, or the side of the tunnel, if you stand, you will be able to see what is happening inside the test section. In the right side picture you can see this glass window, that's the test section window, in front of which we place a camera which can typically record up to 1000 frames per second to resolve what is the flow dynamics inside that particular test section. So you have a say other equipment which is sitting behind the smoke tunnel, that is the paraffin based smoke generator, which comprises of a container which is surrounded by a heating coil, wherein if you pour this paraffin oil and if you heat it, it is going to produce fumes, and these fumes are injected into this tunnel using a rake. Rake is nothing but a simple pipe with multiple apertures, so you might find streaks of smoke going into this tunnel in a vertical plane. So using this visualization facility, we did some visualization, and the result is shown in the slide. So typically what you are seeing is a model of auto placed inside the test section, and it is secured with a particular thin metallic wire. You might not be able to see that, but if you zoom into this particular portion, near to the front wheel, you might see a small cable like structure. So that's where the vehicle model is secured to the tunnel, and these are the smoke streams which are the fume generated from the paraffin, which is heated by a coil and pumped by a blower, and this is injected into the stream, and you are seeing a green color laser light which is in the form of sheet that is passing through the smoke stream. That's where this particles in the smoke is scattering that green laser light, and you are able to see in the perpendicular plane or from the perpendicular position. If you see the fluid dynamics or flow behavior of this flow over this auto model, you might find that there is a small separation bubble happening over the leading edge of the roof. So this is the first phenomenon which you can observe, and then you might find the boundary layer separation happening from the rear side of the roof, and it is going to do a vortex or a three-dimensional blob, wherein some recirculation kind of phenomenon will happen on the rear side, and which might be contributing to the wake. Wake is a simple concept wherein if you have a bluff body on the rear side, you might find complex flow structures like recirculation zones and vertical structures, eddies, and so on. So this is going to typically contribute to the wake in this region, and it is completely turbulent. This was done at 4 meter per second, and there were multiple experiments which we did using this tunnel to come out with what are the fluid dynamic or aerodynamic behaviors with respect to speed of this flow, and we found some of the characteristics like where separation starts, at what what velocity the separation is leading to the bubble, and where it extends or where it gets suppressed, where the flow becomes completely turbulent, or where the wake suppression is happening, something like that. So I have shown only the picture, and there is an entire video clip available, and in later occasion I think we can share that. So these kind of studies are always performed in typical automobile R&D divisions, wherein people will first come up with the prototype of the model, and they will make this model in clay, and then they will have the first prototype model, and they will keep this in the wind tunnel, and they allow smoke to pass over the vehicle. They study about separation points, or the boundary layer transitions, wake dynamics, and so on. So with this, the R&D team will tell the design team that these are the locations you have to work on, and come up with the efficient surface design. So with this, I am moving ahead with CFD simulations which our team performed in our institute. What we have done typically is we have chosen a domain which is similar to the wind tunnels test section, wherein you might find a rectangular domain, and this within this rectangular domain, the object of study, this is the auto model, has been kept on the ground, and there is a zone wherein you can see on the bottom picture, it is a completely refined zone. On the outer side it is a coarse zone, and you might see a boundary condition where velocity inlet is defined with 19 meter per second, which was the set velocity for the drag experiments. And there is an outer domain which is substituted with a symmetric condition and then outlet condition. A typical CFD simulation will have all these basic conditions, and if you have a domain, you have to discretize the domain into smaller cells. This where you are seeing that bottom picture with the grid, and each and every cell will be solved with the governing equations. The governing equations which we solved were Reynolds average Navier-Stokes equation, that is the steady state type, with basic turbulence models realizable K epsilon, and we have solutions. I will show one of the solutions. If you see, you can really appreciate how the wake dynamics is behind the model. So usually the drag is comprising of a skin friction drag and pressure drag. For automobiles, most of the time it will be like a pressure drag will be dominating because of the wake dynamics. If you really play with this wake dynamics, I think you will be bringing out efficient design. That's where this vehicle on the bottom side, if you see, there are vortices being created. On the rear side, this roof on the other side of this plane, you might find roll-up vortices which is contributing to this particular zone, and with respect to axial downstream distances, you might find fading away of this vortex behavior. The strength of the vortex is also altered if you alter this top surface and the rear surface. So our team came up with one more study wherein we modified the rear structure of the vehicle, and we tried to study about what are the drag modifications that can be seen, and we found that one of the modification gave us a lesser drag, that is less than 0.55 coefficient of drag. So I think I have given you a flavor of what we have done with auto aerodynamics, and moving towards the bike aerodynamics. If you see, most racing people, they will be concerned about this reduction in drag to get lower lap timings, such that one particular model was given in a solver called OpenFOAM. We typically use OpenFOAM for CFD simulations, and this is R1 bike, which is a 1000cc bike, and with a rider riding this vehicle. This model is given as a example, so we took that example case, and this model is placed inside a rectangular domain, and you might see the model is exactly placed over the ground, and this model is having all small cells over the surface. As you see on the outer side on the domain, you might find bigger cells, that is the coarse cells. So based on the requirement how to resolve or what to resolve, you can do this grid generation part, and then you can do simulations and come up with solutions, what is the CD value of that particular vehicle, or at what all points what kind of fluid dynamics is happening. So I am showing some results. This is a typical velocity contour. You might find a higher velocity happening over the helmet, and then you might find this blue zones. These are the wake zones where velocity is really low, and you might find recirculation or complex vortices happening there. This is one way to see the fluid flow pattern, and the other way is to do a streamline plot or streamline over the vehicle. And for this particular post processing, what our team did is they injected this streamlines on the earlier part of the domain. That's where at each and every point they decide how many number of points we want to choose, and each and every point will be given the injection. And once that injection happens, based on the velocity field, there are some integrators available within the post processing tool that will integrate, and it will show where the streamlines are moving to, and this will show how the flow pattern is happening over this particular vehicle. And I will show one more picture which will tell you about the physics of flow behind this particular bike if injected in a horizontal plane. So typically rather than injecting that, the previous one was a vertical plane injection, and this is a horizontal plane injection exactly at the mid of the bike. You might see this streams which are moving just on the trailing side are pushed downwards towards the ground and then moving towards the right extreme. So this typically shows that there is a suction zone, low pressure zone, that is the wake zone happening here, and the streamlines from the top layers are pulled towards the bottom wake zone. So these kinds of simulations can be useful for say R&D teams to come up with efficiently designing the frontal part of the vehicle, wherein the other vehicle which is in racing with this vehicle might be traveling just behind this, like platooning effect, or side by side vehicle may be passing a vehicle. So there are a lot of dynamics that can happen. So really you should know about what is the flow field around the vehicle. So especially wake dynamics creates a major role. Another typical day-to-day life example, if you see, if this vehicle is traveling over a road, and this road has completely mud which is somewhat mixed with water, and you are exactly traveling behind this fellow, what this wheel will do, it will spill some of this mud with water into tiny droplets which are multi-phase droplets, and this droplets with this particular streamlines, it might travel dispersed in air. And if you are wearing a white shirt and if you are riding a bike, and your white shirt will be completely dotted after a certain distance or certain duration of travel. So a lot of dynamics that can happen, wherein you might see the recent bikes, it might have a cover exactly over the wheel, and these plastic covers or composite covers are designed especially based on this spillage, because these tires have buttons, and this button in between there are gaps, and that might carry over this molecules and might lead to spillage. So there are a lot of dynamics. Even separate wheel can be studied for aerodynamics, and it can be efficiently designed. So there are a lot of R&D teams around the world which are working on each and every part of the vehicle for its aerodynamic betterment. So till now what I have shown was completely steady state. If we do transient analysis, how the solution will be. This is a typical example of transient analysis which was done over that particular model and post processed with ParaView, which is again an open source tool. This shows vertical structures or starting vortices, exactly these zones. If you see small filaments of vortices is getting started, and then it grows with respect to downstream direction, and you might find filaments which are shed from the vehicle. and these filaments might break and form blobs. The blobs are like a bunch of fluid molecules or air molecule which might be rotating in crazy directions, and those may be called as eddies. So why to see why to study about this transients? If you see this transients, the transient flow dynamics, you might find about fluctuating phenomenon of all the physical quantities which you want to study. And you know that sound or noise is typically pressure wave. The compression and rarefactions which is moving in air is transmitting the sound. And if you find pressure fluctuations, and if you have analogies which can relate this pressure fluctuation to sound or noise, you might be finding what is the aerodynamic noise generated due to the flow over this particular bike, or whether the bike is moving through the fluid at a higher speed, it might be creating aerodynamically generated noise. It is also called as aeroacoustics. So typically you might have felt at higher speeds when you are riding your motorbikes with the helmets, you might be finding whooping sound, or some other noise patterns. And also sometimes you might find your windshield is fluttering, and it is creating again a noise. These are all phenomena based on this aerodynamics resulting in aeroacoustics. This is a typical example of articulated lorry, which is like a tractor-trailer combination, and this is like container trucks which we see in highways. So these vehicles have a typical aerodynamic phenomenon, wherein if you see the top surface, you might find smooth lines. This visualization is called line integral convolution visualization. It is not a typical streamline visualization, but this is a mathematical tool wherein computer science people have contributed with math people, and then came up with this visualization technique. And this technique will have a gray noise. With this noise, velocity data will be merged with some formulas. This results in output, and this is an enhanced line integral convolution visualization, which might show clearly the vortices behind the trailing side of the vehicle. And then you might also find vortices underneath, that is the underhood part of the vehicle. So also you might see some of the flow separation and recirculation zone between this tractor and trailer, which is separated by a gap. So these all contributing to drag. So if you want to reduce drag of these vehicles, you have to close this gap with say rubber sheets which are flexible, such that it can allow this tractor and trailer to turn on the road. So these are all typical examples of simulations which we have done in our group. And we are coming to the last part of this webinar: why aerospace engineers can excel in this automotive aerodynamics or automobile aerodynamics domain. Our basic curriculum, if you see, we are starting with fluid dynamics, and then we are moving into aerodynamics. We are learning what are the basic fluid flow phenomenon, what are its properties, what are the governing equations, and then we might study about the potential flow thing, and then we move into governing equations in integral form and differential form, then stream function, and so on. Then we move to compressible flow. We study about gas dynamics, shocks, oblique shocks, expansion waves, performance of nozzles, and so on. So basically we specialize in aerodynamics, and some of the curriculum provides us with computational fluid dynamics and experimental aerogas dynamics or wind tunnel techniques as electives, or sometimes even in core. So some of the CFD techniques which we learn might be with FDM, finite difference method, or finite volume method. This finite volume method is what used in typical softwares or codes, and mostly all industries are using this softwares, wherein you might find a finite volume method has its application. Wind tunnel techniques or experimental aerogas dynamics, it might be dealing about all the experimental aspects. These subjects we might study in electives, and this will be helpful for people who are working in R&D teams wherein they are doing experiments. Also, as a Simple computational fluid dynamics specialist or a simulation person. This wind tunnel techniques and experimental aero gas dynamics will be helpful for the simulation persons too, because they have to know what are the intricacies in this particular technique, such that they will come up with the validation in a effective way. If you have error in experiments, that should be known to the simulation team. So if simulation people, if they know this experimental part, they will perform better. If this experimental people know what exactly the simulation people want, they will also perform better. So knowing all these subjects, I think it will be helpful in moving towards this particular domain. So what are the skills required? If you ask me, I will tell you that mostly we start our curriculum with basic engineering graphics. Somewhere in between, in third year or fourth year, we might have a laboratory for modeling aspects. That's where we use CATIA or SolidWorks or something like a CAD package we use, and we come up with modeling. And then some of the curriculums has this one like computational analysis laboratory, wherein we typically solve structural analysis problem or computational fluid dynamics problem, where we take this modeling aspects from CAD and take this object, bring it to the analysis software, create a domain outside it, and then discretize it, supply governing equations, boundary conditions, initial conditions, do simulations, post-process, and report. So you have to have all these skills to become an basic employee of that particular domain in an automotive industry. So what are the domains available inside this particular industry, especially in aerodynamics domain? So typically, if you see a automobile company, there will be different teams. Like aerothermal is one particular team. There might be a structural analysis team. There might be noise vibration harnessing team. So there are multiple teams. Design team will be there. So there are separate teams working on different aspects. So as an aerodynamics person, if you want to work in an automotive industry or automobile industry, you have to try for aerothermal team. So what are the works or subdivisions of this aerothermal team? If you see, there is a group which will work on external aerodynamics. So especially these people do simulations. They have to perform calculations and get solutions for drag value, and then they also work on air induction and snow induction. Generally vehicles which will have air intake, these teams will perform about air induction, and vehicles which are plying in snowy regions, they will have snow induction studies also. Apart from this, there are teams which work especially on thermal predictions, like if you have a component which gets heated up with vehicle running for a longer time, you have to find what are the paths or what are the positions or points wherein the hot spots are generated. You have to cool that, so you have to come up with efficient cooling mechanisms. There are other special teams which are working on HVAC systems, HVAC. This is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. This is about the internal aerodynamics of the vehicle. Also, there are some other teams which work on 1D aerodynamics, which means if you want to give input for the engine team, you have to tell about aerodynamic performance of the radiator, condenser, and something like that. So there are 1D aerodynamics team which will have thumb rules and algebraic equations from the previous done simulations or experiments. They will give say speedy solutions to the other teams. And there are special teams like aeroacoustics teams. These people are especially working on aerodynamically generated noise aspects, either using this CFD or computational aeroacoustic packages. So these are the typical domains within which you can specialize in one or two, and then you can work in that particular area. So what are the softwares required for this domain? If you see, modeling software, most companies they use CATIA or SolidWorks, and if they directly want to work on analysis software, modeling is directly done on ANSYS itself. And there is a typical package called ANSA. This particular tool is used by most of the automotive companies or mechanical simulation based companies, and this is particular software which comprises of modeling aspects, cleaning the domain aspects, and then meshing, and then supplying this complete discretized domain with boundary conditions for the solver. So that's where this ANSA tool is important. And meshing tools like HyperMesh, then T-Grid, again ANSA plays a major role because most of the companies are using ANSA. And once the output is there, you can give it to the solver. People use Fluent, STAS-CCM, CFDS, and some groups use PowerFlow. And this TiTherm is a particular solver which solves for this one thermal aspects. So what especially this aerothermal group will do is they will do first aerodynamic simulations. They will have this aerodynamic outputs like flow at each and every point, like velocity, pressure, all these values. They give this to this thermal this group, and this thermal group will take aerodynamic inputs and then perform simulations in TiTherm and find out how thermal cooling is happening. And there are typical post processors available which this automobile companies use are STAS-CCM, ANSYS Post. Then there is a particular tool called View, and there are most of the companies which use this. And there is another dedicated post processing tool called TechPlot, and this is also widely used, but it is also used in R&D groups. So what are the routes to enter an automotive industry for this particular domain? Typically, if you ask me, I will tell you based on the experience from my side and my friends. There are campus interviews which happen because all the automobile companies, if you see, they have a requirement from government that they have to take graduate engineering trainees and postgraduate engineering trainees. So each year they have to recruit this many numbers. So they will go for campus interviews. So basically big institutes, they invite these companies for this GET and PGET recruitments. So they will give initial 1 year probationary period or 2 year probationary period wherein they will get trained and they will get absorbed for their job. Apart from this, companies say give walk-ins. So whenever they call for walk-ins, directly any graduate with BTech in aeronautical, BTech in aerospace, who knows CFD, any of these softwares, directly can go for walk-in. They will be asked for a technical round where you can answer about all the aerodynamics and CFD aspects, and then there will be a demonstration round wherein they will give you a system and they will be giving you a software and they will ask you to analyze something. So this demonstration you have to do in front of the technical experts there, and once you perform within the time limits satisfactorily, and you might get absorbed. And there is the other part called employee referral, wherein a typical automotive industry employee, if they have vacancy in their domain, I think they can directly take people for interview via HR groups, and this is one particular route. And also the last route is most followed route by this automobile people. Like consultancies are available in metro cities. These consultancies have tie-up with this automotive R&D groups, wherein these consultancies will supply manpower to these automotive groups for their R&D or analysis or modeling purposes. So mostly contract employees are recruited by these consultancies, wherein a BTech fresher most probably might not get a direct job in an automotive sector, wherein this consultancies will provide the first job. You can take a job and work for 2-3 years, and once the company feels that you are a better employee or a contributor, they might take you on roll, and you will have a best salary hike. So these are the routes, apart from which once you get absorbed, what are the trainings they give? Typically as an employee, they will give you time management training, decision making training for managers, and personality development for everyone. Then sometimes there will be domain related trainings if you are going to be posted on a different domain, and then every 6 months or every 2 months or every year there might be updates in software. So these software companies will be coming to that particular team, and they will be giving trainings for that particular tool. These are the trainings related thing, and what is the growth inside that particular industry. if you see, as an entry level engineer, you might be subjected to modeling aspects, wherein you have to design the model and then you have to clean the model. Cleaning means there should be no void or surface disturbances, so you have to clean the model and you have to give a watertight model for the analysis team. So the next position will be like you will be shifted from modeling team to analysis team, wherein you perform analysis in structural aspects or aerodynamic aspects. And typically there are different positions, like you will be posted as an engineer if you are having a BTech, and if you have MTech in aerospace or aerodynamics, or project in heat transfer or aerodynamics come heat transfer, you can be directly observed as senior engineer, or with BTech you can go for engineer level job and then you can have sufficient experience and you can get promoted to senior engineer. With the senior engineer, if you have 4 to 5 years experience, you can be promoted as lead, wherein the lead will be taking charge of a particular domain, like subdomain. If you think about HVAC domain, the lead will be the in charge for that HVAC domain. So if you want to go higher, the next one is more than 10 years or 15 years experience. You can have a managerial position wherein you will be managing the total aerothermal team. Beyond this level, you might be finding only executive roles, and I think this is out of scope for this particular webinar. I think with this, I thank you for patiently listening to me for more than 1 hour. I think I have started with basically what aerodynamics is, and I have classified the aerodynamics into different subdomains, and explained about automotive aerodynamics, especially automobile aerodynamics, gave examples from our laboratory, and then we discussed about what are the specialties where aerospace engineers can excel in the domain, what are the entry routes, what are the skills you have to acquire, what are the positions, and so on.